You know that feeling when a message lands just after breakfast and your stomach drops a little? It says money is waiting for you, and for one brief second you feel relief before the worry creeps in. You start wondering whether you have missed something, whether tax has gone wrong, whether you ought to deal with it now. That small moment, right there, is where a lot of decent people get pulled into trouble they never saw coming. If you like having someone talk these things through plainly, without fuss or jargon, do stay with me and subscribe. On this channel, we try to make awkward money rules feel less frightening and more manageable. Today, I want to show you something very important about tax refunds, bank accounts, and the bit nobody explains clearly enough. The central idea all the way through is simple. A refund is only safe when you control the route. There are 7 parts to this, and each one matters more than people think. Not because the rules are clever, but because scammers live in the gap between what ordinary people assume and how the system actually works. A lot of viewers think the dangerous part is losing money after they send it. Very often, the dangerous part starts earlier, when they trust the wrong doorway. First, think about the most common scene of all. You are sitting with a cup of tea, your phone buzzes, and there it is. A message saying HMRC owes you a refund. The amount looks oddly believable, not too big, not too small, just enough to make you think it might well be true. That is exactly why so many people hesitate instead of dismissing it straight away. The rule here is firmer than many people realize. HMRC says it will not send you a text telling you about a tax rebate, and it will not ask you by text for personal or payment details. Scammers know that older adults are careful with money, so they make the message sound tidy, official, and almost boring. They do not need you to be foolish, only busy, distracted, or slightly caught off guard. So here is the phrase worth writing down and remembering. I do not claim tax refunds through links sent to me. If a message arrives first and asks you to follow it, you stop there, because the safe route begins with you, not with them. That is the theme of this whole video, really. Not whether the refund sounds real, but whether you chose the path yourself. And if having that one sentence in your back pocket feels useful, you are very welcome to subscribe and keep this channel nearby. Second, let us deal with the part that catches many sensible people out. They assume that if a refund were fake, or if something looked wrong, the bank would somehow know and step in. People picture a quiet conversation between HMRC and the bank, as if both sides are comparing notes behind the scenes. That picture is comforting, but it is not a safe assumption to build your decisions on. Your bank runs your account, handles payments, and may show warnings in some situations, but it is not your personal tax checker. It is not sitting there with a little note saying you were due exactly £284.16 this Tuesday and no other amount will do. That means a fake message can still feel plausible, even when it has nothing to do with anything HMRC has on record for you. In plain English, the bank is not there to certify that a refund invitation in your inbox is genuine. The phrase for this point is, my bank is not my proof. Your proof is your own HMRC route, meaning your personal tax account, the HMRC app, a proper letter, or direct contact you started yourself. Once you understand that, the panic eases because you stop waiting for the bank to protect you from a decision the bank cannot see clearly. And if that clears up a worry you have carried for years, perhaps subscribe so we can keep untangling these quiet little myths together. Third, let us talk about what a genuine refund route usually looks like. Many people overpay tax perfectly innocently through work, a pension, savings interest, a redundancy payment, or a self-assessment return. So the very idea of a refund is not strange at all, and that is why the scams work so well. The trick is learning what the proper route feels like so the wrong route stands out at once. If HMRC sends you a P800 tax calculation letter saying you are due money back, the letter tells you how to get it. You may be able to claim online using the reference from the letter and your national insurance number, or use your personal tax account or the HMRC app. If you claim online, HMRC says the money is usually sent within 5 working days. If you ask for a check, it can take weeks, and if the letter says a check will be sent automatically, you do not need to make a claim at all. So the phrase to keep is this: no rush, use the route on the letter or on gov.uk. Not the route in a text, not the route in an email that appeared from nowhere. and not the route given by someone on social media. The safe route matters more than the refund itself, because once you leave the safe route, you are no longer dealing with HMRC, even if the logo looks right. If it helps to have the proper route laid out in plain English like this, subscribe and keep the channel close for the next letter that lands on your mat. Fourth, there is an important little nuance that can save you a lot of confusion. Some viewers hear that HMRC messages about refunds can be scams, then they panic when they get any message at all after dealing with tax. But expected contact is different from unexpected contact, and that distinction is worth gold. A message that follows something you started is a very different creature from a message that arrives out of the blue. For example, if you have already requested a self-assessment tax refund, HMRC may send a text confirming the refund is being processed. What matters is that this sort of message is a follow-up, not an invitation to begin the process from scratch. HMRC says texts like that should not ask for personal or financial information and should not send you off to some random website. So the clue is not just the words on the screen, but whether you were already on that road in the first place. Write this one down as well. Expected is safer than unexpected, but I still check through my own account. That keeps you steady because you do not need to guess based on tone, spelling, logos, or how official a message looks. You simply return to the route you opened yourself and see whether the same thing is sitting there in your account or records. If you find this sort of slow, careful thinking useful, why not subscribe so these reminders turn up before the next decision does? Fifth, I want to mention a danger that matters a great deal for older viewers, especially anyone who gets help with forms or online accounts. Sometimes the risk is not a stranger shouting at you down the phone. Sometimes it starts with a decent family member, neighbor, or paid helper saying, "Let me just do that for you. What is your code?" That sounds kind, and often it is meant kindly, but the system can still become unsafe very quickly. HMRC has warned people never to share passwords, usernames, or access codes, even with someone they trust or someone helping with tax. That line can sound a bit harsh until you understand why it exists. The moment another person is inside your sign-in as if they were you, the trail becomes muddy, mistakes become harder to untangle, and bad habits start to feel normal. And once codes are passed around casually, it becomes much easier for a scammer to slide into that same pattern later on. The phrase here is simple and strong: help me beside me, not instead of me. In other words, if someone helps you, let them sit with you, read the screen with you, and talk you through it, but keep the sign-in and codes in your own hands. That keeps the route under your control, which is the very heart of our theme today. And if you think a calm voice on this sort of issue could be helpful in future, feel free to subscribe and let this channel keep you company. Sixth, let me give you a real sort of story, the kind I hear echoes of all the time. Imagine Margaret, aged 68, widowed, careful with every pound, good with paper records, less happy with anything that asks for a password. She gets a proper-looking tax letter one week and puts it on the sideboard because she wants to read it properly after lunch. The next morning, before she has done that, a text arrives saying her refund is ready and she must confirm bank details now. Straight away, her heart starts racing because the two things seem to match. There is a letter in the house, there is a message on the phone, and together they create that dangerous feeling of confirmation. She thinks, well, this must all be part of the same process, and that is the moment the scam tries to win. Not by force, but by borrowing the truth of one thing to make the lie of another thing feel natural. Margaret nearly taps the link, but she pauses because her son once told her to check the path, not the promise. She reads the letter properly and sees it tells her she can claim through the official online service using the reference on the letter, or wait for the proper check route. Then she goes into the HMRC app she already uses to check her state pension forecast and tax code, and she sees the genuine information there. The fake text suddenly looks what it was all along: a stranger knocking at the window while the real front door was already in the room. What gave Margaret relief was not technical skill, and that matters. She did not outsmart the scammers with some clever computer trick. She simply returned to the route she controlled, and the confusion fell away almost at once. If Margaret sounds like you, or someone you care about, it may be worth subscribing so these quiet warnings arrive before the pressure does. Seventh, and this is the part nobody should be ashamed of needing, let us talk about what to do if you have already clicked, replied, or sent money. People freeze at this point because embarrassment takes over. They worry the bank will blame them, their family will think they were silly, or the money has vanished for good. That delay can be costly, and it is exactly what scammers rely on after the first hit. If you think you have made a fraudulent payment, contact your bank or payment provider straight away using the number on your card or statement. Do not use a phone number in the suspicious message, and do not sit there trying to sort it out privately first. Forward suspicious HMRC texts to 60599, send suspicious emails to phishing@hmrc.gov.uk, and report the scam through the official fraud reporting route. The first practical principle here is one of the kindest. Fast action beats embarrassment every single time. There is some protection now for many bank transfer scams, and it is worth knowing this without turning it into false comfort. For many UK-authorised push payment scams, meaning you were tricked into sending the money yourself, protections introduced from October 7, 2024 can require reimbursement up to £85,000. In many cases, firms should reimburse within 5 business days, though sometimes it can take longer and there can be limits, exceptions, or an excess on some claims. So the phrase to remember is this: report first, feel bad later, because the system can only help with a problem it actually hears about. Now, let me pull these 7 points together in a way that sticks. A refund is not made safe by the size of the amount, by the official tone of the message, by your bank account sitting ready, or by how busy your week has been. It is made safe by the route. That is the thread through every example we have looked at today. If the route begins with a surprise text, you stop. If the route depends on a stranger's link, you stop. If the route asks for codes you would not normally share, you stop. If the route is one you opened yourself through the app, your personal tax account, a proper letter, or direct contact you started, you carry on calmly. This matters especially for older adults because life becomes full of overlapping systems. Pensions, savings interest, tax codes, private pensions, state pension, little bits of freelance income, maybe some part-time work, maybe money from a late spouse's affairs. All of that makes a refund feel more believable, not less. And scammers are very good at dressing a guess up as certainty when they know you are living inside those moving parts. It is also why the old advice to just be careful is not really enough. Most people caught by these tricks were being careful in the ordinary sense. What they needed was not more suspicion of everyone and everything. What they needed was one clear habit that works under pressure, and that habit is to leave the message where it is and go in through your own known door. A good little ritual can help here. When anything mentions HMRC, refunds, rebates, overpaid tax, bank details, or urgent checking, do 3 things in the same order every time. First, put the message down. Second, open your own route, meaning gov.uk, your personal tax account, the HMRC app, or the letter already in your hand. Third, compare. That tiny routine removes the scammer's favourite weapon, which is speed. If you want to make that ritual even stronger, keep a simple written list near where you charge your phone. One line can say HMRC app. Another can say personal tax account. Another can say bank number from card only. And another can say never claim a refund from a link sent to me. I also think it helps to talk about this openly with the people around you, not in a dramatic way and not as if everyone is helpless, but as a sensible household rule. If you live with a partner, tell them the phrase. If you help an older parent, tell them the phrase. If you are the older parent, tell your grown-up children what you will and will not do online. And if there is one person who comes to mind while you listen to this, perhaps a sister, neighbour, old friend or parent who still trusts official-looking messages a bit too easily, send this video to them, not as a warning shot and not to make them feel small. Send it as a kindness. Sometimes one calm explanation, heard at the right moment, saves a lot of upset later on. The reason I keep coming back to dignity in all this is that scams do not just take money, they take confidence. They make decent people feel shaken in their own home, in their own chair, using their own phone, doing what seemed like the responsible thing. So part of protecting your finances is protecting your calm, because panic narrows the mind and makes bad routes look like necessary ones. That is why our central theme matters so much. A refund is only safe when you control the route, Not when you recognize the logo, not when the number looks plausible, not when the bank account is yours and the amount feels about right, only when the route is yours. Think of it like walking home on a foggy evening. You may not see very far ahead, and a stranger may call out that there is a quicker way through a side gate you have never used before. But your own front path is still there, familiar under your feet, steady, ordinary and safe, even in poor light. Money matters in later life are often just like that. The known path may not feel exciting, but it gets you home. So when the next message lands and tries to hurry you, let it sit there. Take the path you know, and trust the quiet route that begins with your own hand, not somebody else's invitation.